I'm Jeremy Henry, and this is Opening Lines. This is the blog where we dissect the opening sentences of popular works of fiction, because few people outside of the writing community know how much blood, sweat, and tears go into crafting the perfect opening line. And for that reason, I want to bring attention to the incredible work that a writer puts into those first few words. And today, we will be looking at Stephen King's It. So, his opening line is, "The terror, which would not end for another 28 years, if it ever did end, began, so far as I know or can tell, with a boat made from a sheet of newspaper floating down a gutter swollen with rain." All right, there is a reason that he's called the King of Horror. He has a lot of great books that all have some really great opening lines. But I chose It because of how well crafted this first line was. So let's break it down. The terror. All right, dictionary.com defines terror as an intense, sharp, overmastering fear. Enough said. All right, which would not end for another 28 years if it ever did end. Okay, so I state in each blog, just in case you're tuning in for the first time, that the purpose of an opening line is to make the readers ask questions so that they will continue to read your book. So we know now that we have a super frightening event. And whatever that is, we know it will rain for at least 28 more years, and then it will end. So then King adds, if it ever did end. So what does this mean? Why would he say that the terror would end in 28 years and then contradict himself, or at least correct himself by saying, if it ever did end? Why wouldn't it end? And what is this terror? Then he goes on to say, began, so far as I know or can tell, with a boat made from a sheet of newspaper floating down a gutter swollen with rain. And this is why I really picked this opening line, because that is just great. We have a terror, we have a timeline, and now we know how it began, according to the narrator. And look at how he took the most innocent and childish event to start the terror's reign. A paper boat floating down a gutter swollen with rain. This is one of the best from the best, I really have to say. Why would a terror begin that may or may not end in 28 years by a paper boat floating down a gutter? How could this even be possible? What's in the gutter? And how could a paper boat do anything aside from floating? So these are just a few questions that the reader is asking themselves if they knew nothing at all about the book It. So if you just read that first line for the very first time when the book first came out, if you didn't know anything more about it, then that would really make you wonder what you're in store for. And that's why it's a great opening line. All right, until next week, we'll see you again. This has been Opening Lines.